This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brett Cresswell, and joining me in the studio today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar, principal second violin, and artistic administrator, Merwin Sue, and we have two very special guests here in the studio. We have the TSO's principal tuba, David Saltzman, and by phone we have composer Navdeep Singh Galen. I have a little fanfare for you two here. Let me pull it up for you. That's actually David playing the tuba. A lot of congratulations to him for that. He instantly recognized. I could see in your eyes, David, that you recognized your last appearance here on Symphony Lab. And that performance of the concerto by, who's it by?
Samuel Atler. That's a long time ago.
I was talking about the concerto that you just played on the
I have no idea who wrote that one.
I think, didn't you claim that you had just written it?
Oh, maybe.
I thought Brad wrote it.
Maybe Brad wrote it?
Brad
wrote it. Okay.
I wrote it.
Did you write that?
How soon they forget.
I recognized your signature style.
I'm pretty sure Navdeep's the one who wrote it.
I was trying to save him the embarrassment of,
I'm always embarrassed. It's all good.
of that great tuba part. Anyway, welcome to you, David, and welcome to you, Navdeep. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Now, you are coming, your music is coming to Toledo. You're not going to be here, right?
Likely not. Unfortunately, I just kind of had a lot going on.
It depends on how this podcast goes, right? Yeah. Whether you show up or not.
It's just the timing. I would have loved to have been there, but I'll be able to listen to the recording. And I had the time of my life writing this piece. Honestly, it was so much fun. And I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed playing it. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I want to talk about the piece itself and the process of creating it, because this is going to be the world premiere. But first, for people to get to know you a little better, we can tell your story, as it were, kind of a getting to know you session. And I have some background for music for you. We'll see if this is acceptable or not.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Well, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Navdeep.
Sure. My name is Navdeep Singh Galen. I started my musical journey in 6th grade on baritone horn when my band director went around the room examining everyone's faces and teeth and told us what instrument we're going to play, what we're best suited to play. So I went with it. I did that for a year, and then in 7th grade I switched to tuba. And that led me to Peabody Conservatory, where I met Dave Saltzman, the principal tuba player in the Toledo Symphony. And there I majored in tuba performance and recording arts and sciences. And the recording arts program introduced me to songwriting and production, a little bit of jazz. But I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to get into composition. And it's just something that I've kind of kept with me this whole time and never really dove in until recently. So following a hiatus from music, I went in and out of music a few different times. But during the pandemic, I decided wholeheartedly that I want to pursue composition seriously. So I started taking some jazz and composition classes at Berklee College of Music, studied privately with two composition teachers, Ken Wayno and Hannah Lash, shout out to them. Here we are. And I was asked by Dave very kindly to write this piece, and, it was so much fun. And, I'm really looking forward to having everyone hear it, because I'm really proud of it, and I had a really great time writing it.
Yay! Wonderful. So you and Dave went to school in Baltimore, yeah, together?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, Dave, what inspired you to tell folks here about Navdeep's music?
We were just talking, and it just kind of came out that he was in writing music, and it just kind of came out organically. We just kind of reconnected.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like the right fit.
Well, Navdeep, let's talk about the piece itself. It's called Mojave Sketches, is that right?
That's correct.
What is the story behind this piece of music?
Sure. So it's a piece of music for brass quintet with two percussionists. The percussion part is optional, but in this concert, it will be featured.
We won't tell the percussionist.
That's a dangerous thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to use a percussion palette so the piece is called Mojave Sketches. It's inspired by Ugo Rondinon's Seven Magic Mountains in the Mojave Desert. It's a series of multicolored sculptures in the middle of the desert, and you kind of have the landscape behind it. It's a really, really interesting concept. So I wrote a piece that interprets the sculptures in 7 different ways and represents each of them with music. So what I tried to do was take each interpretation and use that to inform things like structure, meter, key, and style of each movement. And I also thought about the meaning of the sculptures themselves, being artificial structures, interacting with the natural world. I also thought about different perspectives, different types of people who would be visiting these sculptures, and thought about what it would mean to them. And I also considered the human interaction with the sculptures. So that's represented in the music with these mixed meter sections in each movement, which reflects moving around the art piece, seeing them from different distances and angles, getting up close to them, moving through them. And I also wanted to I tried to use a percussion palette that suggests the desert landscape in different ways. So
how do you do that? That seems interesting. I mean, there are a lot of, when you say percussion, I mean, that can encompass a lot of different instruments. What did you use on the percussion spectrum to recreate this kind of feeling or interpretation of these sculptures?
Sure. Well, I mean, when you think of the desert, the first thing I think of is sand, right? So I figure it has to be a shaker, an egg shaker, something that kind of mimics that. Instruments like tambourine, maracas, to me suggest, a cactus and prickles, dryness, a standard drum set, which itself is very colorful. And yeah, that's basically what I use. I kind of went with feeling, whatever felt right and what to me inspires, these sensations of being in the desert.
So there is a quintet for brass, right? There are 5 brass players. How many percussionists are involved? Is it just one, or are there more than one?
Okay, so there are 2 percussionists. So there's one just playing standard drum set, and the second percussionist is playing more of auxiliary percussion, which is tambourine, maracas, shakers, triangle, and some others as well.
So one thing that really intrigued me was you were talking about how when you were at Berkeley, you were kind of studying jazz and composition at the same time. And then there's not that many pieces that actually use a standard drum set as part of it. I was curious as to how kind of your 2 areas of study may have been kind of intersected in this piece. Like, do you keep your jazz worlds and your classical worlds separate, or do they kind of meld together in your musical brain?
I consider, this is just my opinion, but I consider jazz theory to be, I think of it to be like a very complete system. So you can analyze all kinds of music using that. Even Debussy, even early 20th century composers that you wouldn't really think of as jazz, but in that jazz spectrum, it fits in very nicely, and you can kind of use that for analysis. I think of jazz and classical and world music as being very fluid and flexible, and there's a lot of overlap, intersectionality there that I think kind of lends to each other.
So, David, you've been working on this piece. What's your opinion of Navdeep? You have to sit this one out because I'm going to ask David about you.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
But you've known him for a while, but you didn't necessarily know him as a composer. Is this your first collaboration with him on the compositional side?
On the compositional side, yeah. We knew each other both as tuba players back when we were in school together.
You were all part of the tuba mafia.
We were part of the tuba, very much so.
They call it the tuba mirum.
Yeah,
the tuba mirum.
You don't cross with us, that's for sure. Yeah. No, but it's our first time collaborating together as a composer and performer. But it's been a lot of fun. We haven't yet had a chance to put it together with percussion yet. We've only rehearsed with the quintet so far. So rehearsals start this week in earnest with the percussion players. Although hopefully they've been practicing their parts. I'm sure they have been.
Well, remember that they are optional, right?
Yeah. if we keep on saying it on air, we're going to be in trouble here. So, yeah, but it's been fun. I mean, we had a really good time putting it together just as the quintet. It was interesting just to kind of feel how it was going to work, and you can almost hear the percussion parts, how they would fit in even without them there.
Yeah.
It was a really just a neat experience putting it together.
How would you characterize the musical language of the piece?
It varies between each movement to a large degree. I mean, I think that it definitely sounds like the same composer wrote all 7 movements of the work. However, it's very colorful. I think it's atmospheric. It promotes the atmosphere as if you were there, and you can almost just kind of absorb that the monoliths. I've not been to the art installation. I've looked at a bunch of pictures on my phone and everything else, but I can almost imagine myself being in that place when looking at the score and when studying it. You can even see in one of the movements, I think it's Navdeep can correct me, I think it's a G natural that basically continues almost entirely through the entire movement, and you can kind of feel them as the pillars of the stone monument, and then we're just kind of surrounding it on the outsides. Yeah. It's just a neat work.
Kind of a Stonehenge effect.
Definitely so. But it's been a lot of fun to just kind of work our way through it and kind of feel new territory. It's always a neat experience giving birth to a new piece and getting your hands on a piece of music that nobody else has ever had a chance to kind of perform before.
Yeah.
So we're really enjoying that experience.
Navdeep, what inspired you to take up this particular subject? What was it about the art installation that attracts you to it musically?
I visited there in 2017, and it's always stuck with me. I never predicted that I would use it for a basis of a composition, but when I decided that I wanted to write a piece that combines music and visual art, this is the first piece that came to mind. And then as I thought about it some more, I realized that it's a truly unique experience. Going there, being there, the scale of these structures are like skyscrapers. Yeah. And I think you mentioned Stonehenge. They're very much similar to like a modern version of Stonehenge. I just wanted to capture that feeling. And I saw a lot of meaning there and a lot of room for interpretation. And, it just seemed like a great starting place for a piece.
Do you remember what you were thinking when you saw them for the first time? Because I haven't seen them in person, but just given the scale, I imagine that it's one of those things you kind of see before you see it.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the middle of the desert, so when you're driving up, you definitely see them from a distance. And as they get, they sort of resemble like these glittering stones, like jewels from a distance. And as you get closer, you see what they actually are. And the desert heat, the smells, the sounds in the air, they all combine to create this feeling.
And Navdeep, I'm just interested, when you saw them, did you know that they would be hanging around with you for a while like this? Or perhaps was that the sort of thing that you had to go search for some inspiration and you ultimately came to this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm routinely inspired by art, and I try to go to museums. I love visiting museums. I love going to concerts, obviously. And just trying to absorb and understand the world through art as much as I can. Mm-hmm. I definitely noticed that I was coming back to it and thinking about this piece and its meaning in the days and weeks following the visit. And, just like watching videos, looking at photos and thinking about it. I sort of knew in the beginning that this was special to me, and it would stay with me for a while.
That's great. That's wonderful.
I have a quiz, and I wonder if we can go ahead and jump to this, because it kind of relates to this idea of the temperature, and the feel of the desert. It's a summer quiz. You feel well equipped because, no
relative
pressure.
to the other seasons, you mean?
Yeah. How do you feel about summer as opposed to winter?
I'm really disappointed because I've always considered myself a fall specialist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certain people are cold weather people. Other folks are warm weather people. Mm-hmm. I personally like it when it's really cold, but then I, build a fire or keep it warm where I am and get under the covers, that kind of thing. What are you, Merwin? Are you a cold weather?
Well, I grew up in Edmonton, Canada, so I think it's in my blood for me to be kind of a cold weather person.
Are you saying that you're cold-blooded?
Yes, pretty much. That's what all Canadians are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian thing. David, what about you?
That leaves you spring.
I don't know. Maybe so. I spent 10 years in Hawaii, so maybe there's a little bit of warm weather that has trickled down into my bloodstream. So,
Zach, I'm just going around the room here.
No, I'm a fall guy.
You're a fall guy. I think they made a TV series about that.
Lots of finger pointing.
Yeah. Navdeep, are you a summer person or a winter person?
Between those two, I'm definitely a summer person. Being Indian, I guess my people are used to the heat. Obviously there are limits. Being in the desert in the middle of summer where it's over 100 every day, that can be a bit much. I'm starting to appreciate all the seasons for what they have to offer.
Well, you can, put on continual layers of clothing, but you can only take off so much. So that might guide your choice.
Thank you for that, Brad. Yeah.
I'm just glad we're on the radio.
Yes, words of wisdom. Hey, this podcast encompasses a lot of subjects, right?
Did you get that from Jack Handy?
Something like that. I've actually been on Jack Handy's show, as a matter of fact. Yeah, if you go searching for my name along with Jack Handy, you'll find the show that I had with him a long time ago. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the summer quiz. Hey, you started with the Jack Handy comment. Anyway, okay, let me pull up some summer music. Excellent. This will get us in the mood for this summer quiz. And the way that we do this, David and Navdeep, is I will go through all 8 questions. I'll give you 3 choices for each question. And you just keep in mind whether it's A, B, or C. The folks here have stuff to write on. They have pens and paper. So you can either do that, Navdeep, or you can just say that you got them all correct. Okay, we won't know the difference.
You should actually know that Brad likes to trick people and sometimes will give all of the above or none of the above answers.
Yes.
And there are often double negatives, which get very confusing.
Yes, those get
none of the above for none looks like all of the above for all.
Yeah.
Well, having said that, I don't think I have any of those in this quiz. But okay, and this first question kind of fits with the whole idea of the Toledo Club and that people go there to eat and drink and enjoy. Which of the following is a popular summer cocktail made with tequila, lime juice, and triple sec? Is it martini, margarita, or mojito? A, B, or C? Which of the following is a traditional Finnish summer cottage, not college. Finnish, like the country, summer, like the season, and cottage, like the domicile. Is it a mörki, or is it an Aetispakaus, or an ylati? Something like that. A, B, or C? Okay, which of the following is a traditional Japanese festival held during the summer? Is it Nadam, is it Diwali, or is it Obon? Okay, which of the following is a type of traditional Maltese fishing boat commonly used in the summer? Is it a kayak, a vandal, or a kenyerpirito? Okay. I'm getting a lot of practice with making up foreign words here. Which of the following is a summer palace in St. Petersburg, Russia? Is it Peterhof, is it Katarinahof, or is it Hinterhof? A, B, or C? Which of the following is a type of summer squash? Is it butternut, spaghetti, or zucchini? Which of the following is a popular summer flower that blooms in shades of purple and white? Is it the daffodil, is it the hydrangea, or the lily of the valley? And the last question, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Americans consume over 7 billion what? Is it gallons of lemonade? Is it hot dogs? Or is it rinds of watermelon?
And what was the unit?
Over 7 billion of those.
It's kind of wonderful to know that you could never have studied appropriately for a quiz. That there was nothing you could have done to prepare.
Exactly.
I got them all right. I don't know what you guys
I make the questions as obscure and obtuse as possible. So let's go back and
Those
do the
are two
answers.
words to describe it.
Yes.
They describe me.
You can just use those all day long. Okay. The following popular summer cocktail was the margarita. That was B. Everybody get that?
I did.
Yeah, we got that. The Finnish cottage was the first selection. A. Murky. That's a small cottage in Finland. Everybody get that? Anybody get that? No. Nobody got it. Did you get it, Navdeep?
I did not.
Wow. Nobody got that one. Okay, who picked the Eddie Speckus? That's a maternity box. And don't ask me what that is. And the oilati is a sacramental type of bread. Okay.
Aren't maternity boxes? I think that like Scandinavian hospitals give them out at the birth of children, and it's actually because it's a perfectly safe way to put a kid in a box. I think
It doesn't have a lid, though.
I remember
assume,
seeing
right?
this.
How many safe ways are there to put a kid in a box?
That's another quiz.
I think I saw a documentary about this.
Yes. Okay. Next
Move on.
question. Which of the following is a traditional Japanese festival? It was C. Oban or Obon.
Which
And
also
then-
sounds like a
I was
single
going to
malt
say,
scotch,
that's a single
right?
malt scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very different.
Diwali is a festival of lights from India, and Nadam is a Mongolian festival of wrestling, horse racing, and archery. Open only to men, evidently. It's the 3 Games of Men festival. Okay. Which of the following is a type of traditional Maltese fishing boat? That would be A, the kayak, or kajak. Whatever, it sounds like kayak, I think, or a kayak. Vandal was a Dutch poet, and kenyirpirito was a Hungarian word for toaster, right?
Again with the toaster.
Again with a toaster. Folks will have to go back and listen to our podcast we did with Kirsten Leong and talk about the toaster. Okay.
Navdeep, do you like toast?
Navdeep, are you a toast fan?
Always.
Okay, see, I still stand by my earlier claim. Everybody likes toast.
Yes, indeed. Let me bring back the music. Okay. Where am I? Okay, which of the following is a summer palace in St. Petersburg, Russia? It was, of course, Peterhof, right? Instead of Katharinenhof. And Hinterhof is just a German word that means your backyard, right? Behind the house. Okay. Did you get that one? No? Zach got it?
I don't think.
I had Hasselhoff, so I was completely off on that.
Oh, man, I'm going to have you write my quizzes in the future.
That's a difficult house to work with. Is a Hasselhoff. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. It's
a real hassle. Okay. The type of the following is a summer squash. Is it butternut spaghetti or zucchini? Spaghetti is obviously not a squash. I don't think it is.
Sure it is.
It is.
It
Spaghetti
is?
squash.
Oh, a spaghetti squash. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's got like the little spaghetti inside.
But apparently, based on your tone, that's not the right answer.
It's a winter
Yeah.
squash.
Well, no, that's a different seasonal squash. The answer is zucchini. C. David got that right.
That's the only one I know I got right.
You're a seasonal squash, Brad.
I'm not really that up on my squashes. How'd you do, Navdeep? Did you get that one?
I did not get that.
You're in great company.
That's okay.
But I got half of them, I think,
Oh.
Okay. Well, there are
two to
two
go.
more or less,
Yeah.
so, hope springs
so
eternal.
far.
Which of the following is a popular summer flower that blooms in shades of purple and white? The answer was hydrangea, B. Lily of the Valley is kind of like white with
Pink and
pink and purplish overtones to
Yeah.
it, but the hydrangea blooms in the summer. Okay. Last question. Between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Americans consume over 7 billion what? Was it gallons of lemonade? Was it hot dogs or rinds of watermelon? The answer is B, hot dogs. Did you guys get that one?
I did.
Yeah, Merwin got it. How'd you do, Navdeep?
I guessed lemonade.
Okay, the winner of the quiz is Navdeep and David. I forgot you're a guest too, David.
It's all good. I'm king of the zucchini. Other than that, I'm not very good at this.
King of zucchini.
Zucchini. Yeah.
Well,
Zucchini.
we should mention this concert is Sunday. It's May 21st at the Toledo Club, and the concert is sold out right now. But folks can, always stand by the door and try to get tickets, or they can log onto the website or call the box office. That number is 419-246-8000 if you want to experience this in person. It's not often that you do a world premiere, in one of these chamber concerts. So I think that's exciting. Yeah, David, you kind of touched on this earlier, your work with Navdeep. I mean, when you think of great composers writing for great instruments, they either play it themselves or they have a musician that they've written it for. In this case, Navdeep, you're kind of both, because you play the tuba, but you're also writing it for tubists to perform for you. I wonder what your collaboration with David has been during the process of bringing this piece to life.
Well, I mean, I know that David's a fine player, and he can handle anything I throw at him. And, I kind of wanted to give him something fun and exciting that they would enjoy playing, and I hope I did so.
Yeah. Now, when people write for the tuba, I mean, I've written a tuba concerto. We heard a little bit of that at the beginning of the podcast today. But what do you have to watch out for? I mean, you think of the tuba as like, the papa of the orchestra, but what do you have to watch out for when you're writing for the tuba? And I want to hear from both of you, really.
The sound of the tuba is vastly different throughout its range. So the lower end of the tuba is probably what you think about the most when you like you mentioned, the pa sound. But in addition, the tuba is a very beautiful lyrical instrument, and it just soars in the top of the bass clef staff and above the bass clef staff. It just soars over the.
I'm going to bring in some music here. Okay, now go ahead. Tell us more about tuba.
So it can handle a variety of roles, and it can be the support, harmonic support, walking bass, 1 in 5 whole notes like you're used to hearing. But also, it can kind of do a lot of other things too. It can play counter melodies, it can play melodies, it can it can dazzle a little bit too. It can do a lot more than you would think unless you were in the know about the instrument.
More than you would think in listening to this music, right? So there's a quintet.
Was that alternative percussion optional?
Yes, that was percussion optional, but we use a little percussion there.
Noticed,
you heard that. It's a piece called Tuba Playground, right? I think, which is an appropriate title.
I honestly don't know what they have to watch out for. Honestly, I mean, I love playing the oompa stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. Every time that we get, the cantina band that comes into the orchestra around Halloween time and stuff like that, that's some of the most fun stuff I get to do, and I enjoy doing that. But I think, composers have a much better idea of what the tuba can do versus about 50, 60 years ago when, my teacher, Harvey Phillips, was trying to get people to write music for the tuba where, we only had things about whales and down in deep dark cellars and things like that, where
whales in your cellar. Yeah.
Whales and cellars.
Sounds like a movie idea.
And bears and things like that. Nowadays there's much more lyrical and other options for us to play and other options for us to explore, and it's all because of the work of just my teacher Harvey Phillips, and just encouraging us to go out and talk to people like Navdeep and get them to write interesting things for us to play. Because the tuba can be just as expressive as the violin. It's just that, our role in the orchestra and our traditional role even in the quintet is much more of a support role, just because that's the nature of our instrument.
Well, when you think of a quintet, you all the attention goes to the trumpets, and you think of the tuba.
That's because they're trumpet players. So that's just what they want.
They demand
Selection
all that
bias.
attention.
They demand that. It's just a personality.
So Navdeep, you write for the quintet, and you're a tuba player yourself. I mean, so does that kind of flip things on its head, or you pay a little more attention to the instrument that you play?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are a lot of things that I've played in quintets, and sometimes I've wanted to play the melody, and rarely really got the chance in a quintet to do. And I enjoyed divvying up the solos evenly, or tried to, among the players, and give the tuba player a little bit more than they're usually asked to handle.
You definitely did.
So we're going to assign an alternate title to this piece. We'll call it Navdeep's Revenge, right? Okay, so now there is some other music also being presented on the program that we should probably touch on a little bit. There's a couple of works by Samuel Barber, and people are going to know the string quartet, at least the second movement.
Sure.
Right? Because, you want to tell us about that, Mo?
Sure. There's a really iconic adagio for strings that lives in kind of the cultural zeitgeist as an orchestral piece, but it actually has its genesis as the slow movement, the center of this quartet.
Yeah, and it's almost exactly, the way it is for string orchestra, exactly, so people would definitely recognize that. And it's a piece that's been used many times, as you mentioned.
Yes, it really has it exists very much outside the context of what it was originally written for. I think it has a kind of a lot of connotations, sometimes tragic connotations, sometimes kind of elegiac. And, it's been associated with a lot of really important kind of cultural and historic touchstones because people just return to that music in times of, great import.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me that you've got like different groups of types of instruments in each of the pieces that you've put on this program. You've got the summer music of Samuel Barber, which is for woodwinds. And then you've got the string quartet for strings, and then the horn quartet of Mozart.
The Mozart horn quintet, it's actually for an unusual instrumentation.
Quintet, I should say, yeah.
French horn, and Mozart very smartly, decided to take away a violin whenever you can. You should always do that. And it's it's horn, violin, 2 violas, and cello. There is no optional percussion or second violin, but it's a great piece. I'm really excited to be playing on that with the TSO's principal horn player, Megan Amos, and then Reed, Mihaela, and Amy, kind of my colleagues and friends in the string section. So a ton of fun to put together. Really, really great piece. Something that's really interesting, I think, is that the origins of these pieces in the program, they kind of have very diverse origin stories about how, chamber music commissions kind of come into being. And it's, part of me would be really interested in hearing what that first phone conversation was like between Dave and Navdeep. What is just write me something, or did he have very strict requirements about what, but the interesting thing about the Barber summer music is that it was paid for by the audience. It was commissioned by the Chamber Music Society of Detroit. And they basically, after hearing the piece, they kind of donated a certain amount of money. The Chamber Music Society guaranteed a certain minimum in case the piece didn't go over well, but the piece went over wonderfully well. It's become a standard in the wind quintet repertoire. And
so they basically put a tip jar out there. And
well, when you put it that way, it sounds less revolutionary and interesting. I thought of it as a neat commissioning model, but you just called it a tip jar, and I feel a little reductive. It's a little reductive.
I was thinking you could do that at the Toledo Club, you just have a piano, whether you play it or not, and put a little tip jar on it, and you guys will be all set. That'll be your pay for the evening.
That is not how the commissioning model has worked.
Hey, I'm full of ideas, so sorry, Merwin.
We just got breaking news. I think this is really important for us to know. 1 hour ago, the International Tuba Euphonium Association named as this winner of the Dan Parentoni Teaching Award, David Saltzman.
Wow. Congratulations, David.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you know that you were going to get that award?
I knew. They called me about a couple weeks ago.
So you already knew? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that it was, but I didn't know that they were going to be making it public today.
Okay.
Well,
So it's made public.
My phone is blowing up as we speak.
Well, we'll let you get to your phone and get off the radio here. I do want to make the point, though, that this is the final concert, the chamber concert of the Toledo Symphony season. They give a number of these throughout the year, mostly at the Toledo Club. You returned to the Toledo Club recently, and it's a much more intimate, different experience than sitting in the hall, say at the Peristyle or the Valentine or what have you. So this is, for those folks that are going and that go regularly to the programs at the Toledo Club, they're going to really have something special in store for them with this piece for brass and percussion, provided the percussion is good enough at rehearsal. We'll see.
I'm sure they're going to be good enough as whether or not we actually get them to show up. After this radio interview where we've been bashing them for a
Navdeep, you could compose something where all musicians are optional.
There you go.
Yeah, just a quick rebuttal. So it wasn't my intention to make the percussion optional. I'd written the brass parts first, and I liked how it sounded without percussion. So then I decided, hey, maybe it works without percussion. So let's give them a choice.
So the concert is Sunday. It's May 21st, 7 p.m. at the Toledo Club. Music of Samuel Barber, also Wolfgang Mozart. And our special guest today, Navdeep Singh Galen, who is the composer of the Mojave Sketches for brass, quintet, and percussion. It'll be performed by David Saltzman, principal tubist of the Toledo Symphony, who's also been my guest on Toledo Symphony Lab. Thanks for both of you for coming in and telling us about this new piece.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. And don't forget to check out all the upcoming events, including the new season of the Toledo Symphony, by visiting their website at toledosymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Zach Vassar and Merman Sue, and of course our special guests, David Saltzman and Navdeep Singh Galen. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.